In this video, we're gonna see how you can become rich. Regardless of where you live or what age you are, you want to take a note. You want to watch this video till the end to get a complete blueprint of getting your money right. Before coming to Canada, I had never invested. But once I moved to Canada in 2014, early 2015, I came across a video and it said that how you should spend your money or where you should invest your money. Since that, I have been following this principle and I want to share that everything, the principle and the whole thing with you guys today. Many times people think that becoming a rich is you need a lot of money rather than it is how you spend your money or how do you invest your money. So without delay, let's move ahead. The first thing you want to know is why the rich people get richer. And you have to understand that how the poor people, middle class people and the rich people spend their money first. Until you understand how they spend their money, you're not gonna know why the rich people get richer. Before we dive into the details, let's learn some financial terms and make sure that you write these down because it will help you not just now or next year, it will help you throughout your life. So you want to make sure that you follow by this principle and you want to know everything I say in this video. The first one is cash flow. Cash flow is money you bring in, means that the money that comes into your bank account as an income. Expense is money you spend. You buy the stuff, that is the expenses. What is assets? Tons of people think house is an asset. Let's see. Assets, most of the people think that something you own, either house or a car, that is an asset. But you have to delete those things, forget those things. You're gonna learn the new things today. And the new thing is, if that assets, whether it's a house or a car, if that pays you to your bank account, it is an asset. And what is liability? Something that cost you, means that if you pay to that, it is a liability. It's not an asset. An asset only is something that pays you. If it doesn't pay, if it pays a $0, it's not an asset. It has to have a positive cash flow. In the picture, you can see that the house, if the house is generating the income, if it makes some money, it is an asset. But if the house is eating the money, if it costs you, if you have to pay for the house, it is not an asset, it's a liability. Let's review the financial terms. Cash flow, money you make. Expenses, money you spend. Assets, that pays you. Okay, anything that pays you is only an asset. If something doesn't pay you, it's not an asset. Liability, that cost you. You spend your money, that's a liability. It is important that we see how the broke people spend their money. Broke people buys stuff all over the house, lying on every corner of the house. They have a stuff, and for that reason, they live from paycheck to paycheck. They don't need, they use a couple of times, they use one time, and it's just on the corner, that's in the garage. They buy stuffs all the time. So this is how the broke people spend their money. What happens when the broke people buy the stuff? Let's see. It is important that we see that, okay? So let's see the cash flow and the expenses. For example, if the broke people has, let's say, $1,000, what happens to the cash flow? They immediately spend that money to buy the stuff. Now expenses gone on the $1,000, and the cash flow is zero because it's all on the expenses. Nothing on the assets, neither on the liability. just buying the junks, Kijiji or Craigslist or Dollarama or something. They have to buy something, so money is gone on the expenses. Second, how do middle class spend their money? Really important. You need to know this because most of the people, I would say 60-70% of the people are in this group, in this bag. Okay. For example, the middle class has a 7,000. They make good income. No doubt on that. They make good income. 7,000. Some money goes in the expenses because they have to eat, they have to live. That is fine. But most of their money goes in the where? Liabilities. That's right. And what are liabilities? The cars, fancy cars, good cars, boat. You need boat. Okay, I'll buy it. On what? On credit card. On credit. House. Need a big house, need everything. I need a vacation 3 times a year. Money goes in the vacation and racking the tons of amount in the credit card. Max outing the credit card. Nothing on the assets, just buying the liabilities. And what happens finally? Some amount goes in the expenses for sure, but most of the amount goes in the liability, just paying the stuff like the liabilities, just these stuffs. But there is nothing on the asset column. Asset is zero. There is nothing because the middle class people do not spend their money wisely. They want to get rich. They are smart, but they have a lack of education. They don't know where to spend their money in a right way. They don't know where to because they don't invest in the education. For that reason, they are a prison. Why? Because they need to spend all their money in the liability. Anytime the paycheck comes, man, money goes into the liability. There is nothing to save. There is nothing on the asset class because you have so much liabilities. All the money goes into the liability. But if you did not have that liabilities, where the money would go? That could go in the assets. For that reason, they are prison. They have to pay that money. Otherwise, the bank or the company just gonna get the things back, either the house or the boat or the car or anything. So they have to pay that amount, most of the amount, 80% of the amount or 70% of the amount salary or the income goes to the liabilities. No doubt, no doubt, middle class makes more money every year or every month because they are smart. These are the smart people in the society. Let's see the cash flow and the expenses chart. In the cash flow, for example, they are gradually increasing their income month over month, quarter over quarter, or year over year. Their income is going up because these are the smart people. They make more money, no doubt on that. But on the other hand, their expenses is going up without knowing. Why? Because they don't know. They have no right education. Since they don't have a right education, what they do? They spend on liabilities. As the cash flow, the income goes up, cash flow goes up, the expenses goes up. It rises in the same way or even faster. Let's see how. Now, the first month, the expense is here. But second month, it goes even higher, higher and higher and higher because they think that I'm bringing them more money, I deserve to spend more. As they spend more, their credit card is always on negative because the cash flow cannot catch up the expenses. Expenses is always higher and also the bank account is on negative just because they are not smart with the financial education. And we're gonna see what is that. Don't worry, okay? We're gonna see that. So just make sure that the graph has to be the other way. If the expenses goes down and the assets goes up, you'll be wealthy. But the middle class is just doing the opposite. And you don't want to be there, okay? You want to be ahead than any other people. or everybody else in your circle, in your community, or your friends and family. For that reason, I'm making this video to you guys. It is important that we learn how the rich people spend their money. If you just learn these things, guys, if you just master, you just watch extra 15 minutes of this video, your life will change. You'll become rich just because you watch this video and you are disciplined with your money. And I can guarantee that because I have done for myself. As I said, I never invested in my life when I was in Nepal. Half of my life I never knew how to invest, where to invest. Why? Because I had no education. Nobody said me anything. But since I moved to Canada, I had found a video that educated me, that gave me an insight. Man, you can't be stupid with your money. Don't be stupid. Be smart with your money. This country is built with the smart people, and if you are willing to learn, you'll be really wealthy in the future. So let's see, the same as the middle class people. The rich people has a $7,000. Now these people do not spend on the liabilities. Never ever they spend on the liabilities. What they do? They have some expenses maybe, but most of their money goes to the assets. For example, they are investing the 7,000 to the assets. What happened? Let's see. Now these guys invest 7,000 in the assets. The assets produce 1,000 extra income, cash flow, and this goes to the principal of the cash flow. Maybe next month or next quarter or next year, whatever. But it generates the cash flow eventually. Now your cash flow is 8,000. Similarly, you have 8,000, you invest on the assets, income generating assets, and that assets produce 1,000 cash flow. That goes on the top of the cash flow. It becomes 9,000. Similarly, 9,000 goes to the assets. Assets produce the cash flow. That cash flow goes to the top of this 9,000. The 1,000 and 9,000 is 10,000 now. All of a sudden, next quarter or next year, you have a higher income. You have a higher cash flow. Now you might be wondering, the question you want to ask is, man, I know all these things. Now I get it. Now where do I invest my money? Tell me. Never ever divert from this principle. If you want to go in the other route, it's going to cost you. So the proven way to buy the assets are stocks, bonds, real estate, and education. And I find stocks is really simple and a really good way. Other people invest in ETF or dividend fund or bank interest, but it has to produce some income. There is a good investment and the bad investments again, but it has to go to the investment where it produces at least some investment, some return. If there is no return, again, this is not an asset. So all the money has to go to the cash producing, income generating assets, never on the liabilities or on the expenses. You have to live, you have to spend some money, but doesn't mean that most of the money goes to the expenses. Only the few amount goes to the expenses. All the other goes to the income producing assets. This is not my quote, but I find this really helpful. If you think education is expensive, you do not invest on educating yourself, then you should see how expensive the ignorance is. Ignorance is you think, hey man, I don't care. Hey, I know everything. Man, this is the same thing I'm learning from like age 15 or 17. But why you are not rich then? That's the question you should ask yourself. If you know all these things, then why you are not rich? Right? If I had invested when I was 18, if somebody had taught me this thing, somebody has said me this thing, by the time right now, I would have like multi-millionaire. But nobody said me these things. All the money I would keep is in the saving accounts. Anything I earn goes to the saving account because of the lack of education. So never ever ignore these principles, ignore these things. How do rich people spend? They are always, rich people are always looking for cash generating opportunities or cash generating stuff. They only invest in cash generating. They're always looking for the opportunities so that that money goes higher and higher every year. The rich people money grows higher every year, never in a flat line, always going upward. The graph is always on the upward. They also invest in a passive cash generating opportunities. For example, the real estate. Real estate is a passive cash generating income. Every month, the real estate pays you. Now, once that pays, you make an extra income. You want to learn the education about the tax, because if you do not, or if you are not smart with the tax, most of your money or the income will again goes to the taxes. So you want to learn, you want to invest in the tax. That's why I said you want to invest some amount of your income in the tax or in the education. Make sure that you do not ignore this again, because earning is not only the thing. The rich people also invest in the stocks, bond or ETF or the high dividends. What is a house? Now we have to see this. Is house an assets? Let's see. This is your balance sheet. This is a bank balance sheet. Now if you take a mortgage for the house, it is a liability for you. I don't need to say that. It is a liability for you. Why? Because you pay the bank every month. Every month you pay the bank. As you pay the bank, this is assets for the bank. Why? Because it is producing the cash flow for the bank. Asset is something that produces the cash flow. For that reason, the house is assets for the bank but liabilities for you. Let's see the income investment for you and the bank account in the details. You make a income, no doubt on that. You have an income. Now what happens to that income? Really important to see. The middle class people or any other people who are not smart with the money or do not have a true financial education, they buy the liabilities. The most of the middle class people are here. They buy the liabilities, the mortgage, house, car, loan, credit card. Your income is here. You spend all on the liability. It is your expenses. All the money is gone. Now that is assets for the bank. The mortgage or the house or the loan and the car, everything is an assets for the bank. Since it is assets, since it has a positive cash flow, it is a positive cash generating stuff, it is a income for the bank. You're just paying the bank, but just it goes through a whole lot of things. It doesn't go directly but indirectly with these routes. How I invest and how you should invest. There's no doubt 40% goes to the tax. Most of the country, US, Canada, Australia, many countries, 40% tax, somewhere around there. You want to invest at least 25% in the investments. If you know how to pay 40% tax to the government, you should know, or you should be able to at least invest 25% for yourself. 5% to the saving. But if you have enough saving, let's say you have like few thousands in your bank account as a saving, you want to increase this to the 30%. We don't want the saving, because if you have a saving, this 5% goes to the investments. Expenses. You need to buy the clothes, do the grocery, rent and everything, 25%. Only 25% on these things. If you spend more, you can't decrease this. There's no way this can go down. Government takes the money. Before they pay you, they take the money. There's no way to get around this. But you can get around the expenses. You can reduce the expenses. If you reduce the expenses, you have money to invest. And you also want to invest on the education. Most of the people think once they complete the high school or the campus or the university, their education is done. But I find, in my opinion, real education starts once you start making the money. Because if you are not smart with your money, what is the reason for the education? So always make sure that you invest around 4% of your income on the education, because this is the way you can find all these things. If you are dumb on this, if you are zero on education, you will never know where should I invest or what are the good investments. You'll never find the real estate or the good investments or good dividends or good ETF. You'll never know. Since you invest on education, you will know all these things. You are learning, and since you are taking or watching all this video, I suppose you are more curious on getting the education. You are more trying to learn how to get rich, make more money, and if you want, you can invest some money on the charity, give away some money on charity. Now let's summarize everything whatever we said. Broke people just buys the stuff. Stop what? Stop all the junks from Kijiji, Craigslist, Dollarama, whatever they find. They just love buying. Not just the good stuff, but even the bad stuff. Every corner is filled with the some junks. Middle class people buy liability. Just the liability like house, cars, boat, vacation, credit card is negative, right? And this is really risky. Now rich people always buy the assets, only the positive cash generating assets, nothing but the income generating assets, cash flow, always. If you are still watching this video, congratulations to you, because I see you are really enthusiastic on how to become rich, and that should be your goal. Because everybody makes money, but not everybody becomes wealthy. Your goal should be how to be wealthy. I have just written a book and published. If you want to get the free copy, 3 rules of money, where do I invest my money, where you can invest your money, there's no headaches, there is no like whole bunch of things, just simple money rules. You want to download a copy from charliesuniversity.com, just scan the QR and it will take you to the Charlies University website. Just enter the email and get the free copy. Once you read that, send me a feedback and also leave a comment down in this. Leave a comment if the video really bring value to you, and also subscribe, because I see most of the people are not subscribing to the channel. They are watching the video, they are not subscribing. Make sure that you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.